And now it is my absolute pleasure to welcome my friend and colleague, Daniella Dimitrov, Senior VP and Chief Financial Officer of Calibre Mining, as your opening keynote speaker. Daniella is a 20-year veteran of the industry. She has held multiple roles throughout her storied career in mining, including C-suite roles and board positions with some of the industry's largest players. Daniella also holds a Global Executive MBA from the Kellogg School of Management and holds a law degree from the University of Windsor. She was previously selected as one of the top 100 global inspirational women in mining. Please help me welcome my very good friend Daniella Dimitrov to open the 4th edition of the Mining Investment Event.
This is Canada. Where mining is more than an industry. It's a responsibility, and we take it seriously. Where we explore in the cold and innovate with purpose. We build teams. We build trust. We build the future. Around the world, the Canadian standard matters. From copper to cobalt, uranium to rare earths, we don't just dig. We lead. Canada doesn't follow the world. We build it.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Welcome. It's a privilege to open up this 4th edition of the Mining Investment Event of the North. We're meeting at a moment that demands more from Canada than just to host the natural resources, and more from us than to mine them, but to lead. Before we get serious, a glimpse at what happens when Canadian mining mines get together. An engineer, a geologist, a lawyer, an accountant, and a banker walk in a room. They hold the door for each other, apologize multiple times, and cautious their remarks before getting into it. And what is it that they come up with? A list, the top 10 list, as to why Canada should lead in mining. And here we go. Number 10, our rocks are 4 billion years old, and they still yield dividends. Number 9, we mine where frostbite is a performance metric. Number 8, our idea of work from home is a fly-in camp in February. Number 7, if it's on the periodic table, we've probably got a project, or at least a PowerPoint with its name on it. Number 6, we can find gold in places you can't even find on Google Maps, and call them world-class. We can spot a 0.3 gram per ton intercept in a snowstorm with a Tim's in one hand. Number 4, boom or bust, we back the next find because there's always upside. Number 3, we lead like we play hockey, no shortcuts, a little blood, and still somehow sorry. Number 2, we invented flow-through shares before fintech was cool. And the number 1 reason why Canada should lead in mining, only in Canada have holes in the ground led the world. You know, I've always wanted to do a David Letterman top 10 list, and for those in the audience who don't know what that is, please ask someone beside you with gray hair. When I told my husband that I was going to open up with this list, he was surprised. He said, "You, starting with a joke? You don't joke. You're always very serious." And behind my attempt at humor is something serious. The video you just saw isn't just a story about Canadian mining. It's a story about Canadian leadership. And it reminds us of something important. Leadership isn't permanent. We had it in spades. The rocks, the talent, the capital, the companies. Noranda Falconbridge, Inco, global leaders that helped define the industry. We trained geologists who worked around the world. We built a regulatory system, capital markets, and a governance culture that others came to trust. But some of that edge has slipped. Other countries are moving faster. So are we ready to lead again in this moment? And why this moment? Because the world is shifting fast. Supply chains are being redrawn, politics is turning inward, capital is cautious, and globalization is retrenching. But the need for resources, that's only accelerating. Critical minerals are on every national strategy slide deck. Mining is in the public conversation not as a legacy sector, but as a strategic one. If we want energy security, resilient grids, clean power, and the strategic capacity to defend and sustain them, it starts with mining. As Anthony Vaccaro, in a recent speech, said, for the next several decades, geopolitics may be the most defining force shaping how metals are mined and where capital flows. That's why this is the moment. Leadership means stepping up when the moment calls. And right now, governments have a responsibility to lead. Yesterday, Prime Minister Carney met with the premiers of all of the provinces and territories of Canada, and they acknowledge the urgency of getting our country's resources to market. This means breaking through the bottlenecks. And it starts with three things our governments can and must get right. First, we need to streamline permitting. Jurisdictional ambiguity and fragmented reviews have stalled progress. We need mines permitted, built, and operating within a decade, not a generation. One project, one review isn't just efficient, it's investable. Other countries are moving fast. The US has declared minerals a national security priority and introduced Fast 41 to get projects moving. In May, Anfield Energy received approval for its uranium project after the Bureau of Land Management completed its review in less than 14 days. China, of course, has been executing its Belt and Road strategy for years, locking in control of minerals and global processing capacity. Canada needs to match that urgency and that cohesion. And we've started to move. Ottawa has pledged to cut federal approvals from 5 years to 2. Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia have launched efforts to speed up permitting. Nova Scotia has lifted its long ban on uranium mining. And yesterday, at the First Minister's meeting, these commitments took one more step. Premiers backed one project, one review, and committed to coordinated timelines. They committed to support legislation to advance national significant projects that, 1, strengthen Canada's autonomy, 2, drive economic growth, 3, reflect Indigenous priorities, 4, support clean growth, and 5, have a high likelihood of successful execution. And this includes mining. And that last criteria about likelihood of successful execution is a very interesting one. These are steps forward, but the kind we need to turn commitments into outcomes. This brings us to the second priority. We need to unlock infrastructure and investment. Internal trade barriers and labor mobility restrictions cost this country $200 billion every year. The federal government announced it will introduce legislation to eliminate all remaining federal barriers to internal trade and labor mobility by Canada Day. At yesterday's meeting, premiers acknowledged that there is more to be done, so let's keep going and build a federation that works for a modern resource economy where getting people and products across provinces isn't harder than across borders. At the same time, infrastructure and productivity are holding Canada and mining back. The Ring of Fire won't be built on one company's balance sheet or on good intentions. Roads, power, and bandwidth don't just support development, they decide if it happens at all. Some provinces have the resources, others have the power, and others have the ports. But without coordination, none of it connects. And we're starting to see action on this front as well. Ontario recently announced a $200 billion infrastructure plan. Quebec announced it is expanding Plan Nord. Canada has announced that it has a greater focus on Arctic infrastructure tied to sovereignty and security. And Newfoundland and Quebec have been re-engaging on regional energy. The dots are on the map. Now governments need to connect them, and faster. But building infrastructure alone won't unlock the future. So third, we need to better partner with Indigenous peoples. Streamlining permitting must not come at the expense of reconciliation. Governments will need to clarify how they will consult with Indigenous peoples to gain support for the proposed permitting timelines. Governments must also lead in strengthening Indigenous ownership and partnership to create generational economic opportunities. The federal government has committed to double the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program to $10 billion. Ontario has committed $3 billion to support Indigenous participation in critical minerals mining. But investment alone is not enough. Lasting benefit comes from co-leadership. It comes from inclusive, consent-based agreements grounded in Indigenous equity and participation that balance development and conservation. And we must also step up as an industry, not just to meet expectations, but to help and share a future built on mutual benefit. Real partnership requires trust. Trust isn't promised or built at ribbon cuttings. It's earned at kitchen tables, over time, across generations. So this moment is real, and it's new and fragile. Advancing over 500 major resource projects could unlock over $1 trillion in GDP by 2035. That's not just growth. It's jobs, that's energy security, that's global competitiveness, and that's real reconciliation. Unlocking that potential demands clarity, coordination, follow-through, and urgency across all levels of government. But if we're waiting for government to do it all, we're already behind. It's our industry, our projects, our responsibility to also lead. Day in and day out, in planning meetings, in early mornings before shifts, in boardrooms. It starts with us, and it shows up in three ways that matter. Number one, we must deliver relentlessly. Yes, mining takes time, but what we do with that time is what matters. The best teams deliver on their promises through downturns, disruption, and uncertainty. They do what they say they're going to do. Our track record hasn't always inspired confidence, and credibility is earned. And this is our moment to earn it back. Because in a world of constrained capital, the companies that deliver are the ones that lead. Second, we need people, not just production. Canada faces over 100,000 of unfilled positions by 2030. And that starts with changing perceptions and opening doors. programs like Mining the Future 2030 and campaigns like This Is Mine Life are landing, especially with women and Indigenous youth. And to the students here today, through the Glencore sponsorship, welcome. You are the future of this industry, and we're really glad that you're here. Attracting talent is one thing, keeping it means earning trust by building workplaces that reflect their values, engaging with meaning, and creating real impact. Third, we must innovate with purpose. More than once in my career, I heard the same answer to this question. Any new technology in your project? Nope, it's been around for 50 years. That answer used to bring relief, and today that answer should scare us. The future isn't built by waiting for a better price tag. It's built by evolving now. AI and computer vision are reducing downtime and preventing accidents, and satellites are tracking biodiversity shifts from space. This isn't science fiction. This is mining in 2025. Those bold enough to rebuild while running, they're the ones that are going to shape the future. But none of it moves without capital, and that's the elephant in the room. Capital isn't gone. It's just more selective. It's watching how we allocate, how we permit, and how we perform. We keep asking when the generalists will be coming back, and maybe the better question is, what will bring them back? It's more than rising commodity prices. It starts with industry delivering, consistently allocating capital with discipline, and building trust. We have to earn the right to deploy every next dollar. And as we do that, Canada has an edge to build on. Canada's flow-through structures, charitable or traditional, turn exploration capital into public benefit and tax efficiency at a fraction of the cost. They're a uniquely Canadian capital innovation that should be strengthened, not scaled back. The federal government's investment of over $150 million in foreign mining, alongside other investors, to support the construction of its copper zinc project in Saskatchewan shows what's possible when government and capital align behind responsible development. And yet we're just scratching the surface. Can we better coordinate the pools of capital that already exist and those that are emerging? Can we build capital joint ventures with other countries like the US-Canada Critical Minerals Partnership? What if pension, infrastructure, and institutional funds are incentivized to co-invest with government to help de-risk roads, power, and ports that we need? We have a chance to align financial innovation, policy, and capital to turn potential into progress. Canada has the opportunity and the responsibility to act, to convert announcements into execution, to advance projects, not just plans, to match the urgency of our ambition with the pace of our delivery. Industry can't do it alone, and governments can't do it alone, but together we can get it done. Before I close, I want to share why this moment matters to me personally. Like some of you, I didn't start out in mining. I found it, or actually it found me. My family and I came to Canada from Romania when I was in grade 9. Even though Rocha Montana, one of Europe's largest undeveloped gold deposits, and now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was in my backyard, mining wasn't part of my plan. I'm not an engineer or a geologist. I've been a lawyer, banker, and now a CFO. But this country and this industry gave me a place. I've worked across Baffin Island Northern Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland. I've built teams in Bolivia, grown talent in Spain, and collaborated with women leaders in Nicaragua on opportunity and growth. We came here with suitcases, and I stand here today because of what Canada and this industry made possible. Let's make sure that the next generation can say the same, because that's what mining does. We don't just extract value, we create value. And that's the real resource, it's leadership. As I was preparing for this talk, I was asking myself, am I really saying anything new? Streamline permitting, build partnerships, attract talent, execute. We said those things. We've even started doing some of them. We don't need something new. We just need to act with the urgency that this moment demands. Joanne Jobin started this conference 4 years ago to create a space in Canada where mining stakeholders could come together with urgency and purpose. That vision feels even more necessary today. Over the next 3 days, you'll hear from the builders of Canada's mining future and some of the legends who have helped shape it. You'll hear about Indigenous-led royalty models, AI-driven exploration, metals in Quebec, and copper in Yukon. Le monde nous regarde, pas juste pour entendre ce qu'on va dire, mais pour voir ce qu'on va faire. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly energized by this moment. Canada, industry, let's lead again. Let's go. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Have a great conference. Thank you.